Good morning. Welcome to March and Budget Day. Welcome the members of the public who are with us today and those on YouTube as well. I would ask Mr. Tifo to take the roll call, please. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. Councillor Agar. Councillor Atkinson. Councillor Bushi. Councillor Bradley. Councillor Broad. Councillor Case. Councillor Cook. Councillor Dennis. Councillor Ferguson. Councillor Hand. Councillor Loosely. Councillor McRoberts. Councillor Miller. Councillor Sageman. Councillor Bean. Deputy Warden White. And Warden Marriott.
Present.
We have quorum.
Thank you. We acknowledge that this land on which we are gathered today is part of the ancestral land of the Chippewa, Ottawa, and Potawatomi peoples, referred to collectively as the Anishinaabe. It is through the connection of the Anishinaabe with the spirit of the land, water, and air that we recognize their unique cultures, traditions, and values. Together as treaty people, we have a shared responsibility to act with respect for the environment that sustains all life, protecting the future for those generations to come. I would ask any member of council to declare a pecuniary interest now or where it may arise during the meeting. Seeing none, we move on to, well, we have no in-camera, item number 4. That brings us to the open session, and I would ask to join me for a moment's silent reflection, please. Thank you. Item number 7, correspondence from member municipalities. We have one from an email from Mandy Pearson, clerk of the town of Petrolia, dated February the 14th, regarding a resolution that was passed by the council of the town of Petrolia. The following resolution was carried. Councillor Loosely, please.
Yeah, thank you, Warden Marriott. I have a motion in regards to that, and I'll read what I have and I'll ask for a seconder. I would like to recommend that the county police grant provided to municipalities be referred to administration for a report back to county council prior to the 2024 budget. And if I can get a seconder, I'd like to speak to that.
Okay, move by Councillor Dennis. Go ahead, Councillor Loosely.
Yeah, thank you, Warden Marriott. This was brought up by our treasurer of Petrolia and CAO, Mr. Charlebois, and it's in regards to, this was arranged probably over 20 years ago when all the municipalities formed together in one contract with the OPP, other than Sarnia and Point Edward. And money was given at that time. Well, that amount of money has not changed in 20 years. And if you look at inflation, over 25 or 17,000, that's the amount given to Petrolia. If you look at inflation over 20 years, the inflation is running at somewhere around 51%, which would actually bring that up to $25,000. But I think this item needs to be referred to administration for a report back, so all the information can be given to all of County Council. Thank you.
Okay, is there any discussion on the motion? It appears that we're ready to vote. Are all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. That moves us to item number 8, 2023 budget deliberations. I'm going to call on Mr. Parlarchio, the General Manager of Finance, Facilities, and Court Services, to outline the process for the day, and we'll proceed from there. Mr. Parlarchio, please.
Great, thank you, Warden Marriott. Just wanted to thank everyone for joining us today for Big Day 2023 Budget Deliberations. A bit of a refresher, on February 15th, I delivered a budget presentation to everyone here. The base budget increase that we have in front of you for 2023, the base budget is at 2.96%. Just wanted to reiterate and reemphasize that we're well below CPI of 6% plus. We decided as a GM team that would be a responsible budget to deliver to County Council. So 2.96%, that includes your operating, all your capital programs. The one additional strategic investment that we thought was worthy of a service improvement or addition is affordable housing, where we increased the contribution that we had last year at $1.2 million to $2 million, which equated to a 0.96% increase to the base budget, which in totality equated to a 3.9% recommended increase that's in front of you today. Since February 15th, I thought I'd share this information with you as well. A lot of counties across Ontario have deliberated on their budgets. It's by no means any scientific or statistically significant information, but most treasurers and municipalities across Ontario have seen increases in the 4, 5, and 6% range. There's been some as high as 10, some as low as below 3. But I wanted to share that with you today in that some of the these 5.5% increases that seem very different than what we've experienced over the 3 or 4 years that I've been here is numbers that a lot of county councils are struggling with. And one is because basically the cost of living is increasing, not only just for your family and households, but for your municipalities as well. So I want to bring that to the forefront. As far as today's process is concerned, from tabs 4 to 16, basically these are budgets that will require no motion unless there's an addition or a reduction to the budget as proposed. So that's all within the 3.9%. There are items that if you would like to lift from the budget, specifically the Petrolia Line and County Road 31 Kimball Road, whether it be a roundabout or signalized intersection, those would have to be lifted, and they would be a potential addition to the levy that we're looking at today. With that being said, that summarizes where we're at today, and happy to answer any questions that come out throughout the day.
Are there any questions for Mr. Parlarchio before we proceed? Seeing none, we'll move into section B, items referred to budget. As we know, last meeting we had a discussion about, and this second motion was tabled. And if you look at the back of it, the two motions are basically married now, so we can take one motion to lift both motions. Moved by Councillor Broad, seconded by Councillor Agar. How would you like to proceed with these two motions and based on last meeting's discussion? Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor of lifting? That's carried. Councillor Agar.
Thank you. I would like to propose that we go ahead with a traffic light on number 4, Kimball, and just deal with it that way. If we did a roundabout, it's going to be years, and who knows if you can ever buy the property needed to be able to do it. So that's my proposal. Thank you.
Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Boucher seconds. Discussion? Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that we do it properly, whether it is a traffic light or roundabout. driving around, it's gonna take years, I think, for the traffic light too. There will have to be study done, land acquisition done. Perhaps Mr. Cole can address this issue in a few moments and answer some of these questions. But to move through now to spend $700,000, that's probably gonna be in 2024. Are we better off to say, do the study in 2024, move ahead in 2025 with a roundabout issue? To bring it in now to try to do it in 2023, you're gonna add on 1% to budget. And I don't know if you have time to get the engineering done in time for that and land acquisition also if it's needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Would Mr. Cole like to comment at this time, or would you prefer to wait for more discussion or questions? Yep, please go ahead.
Through you, Warden Marriott and Council. I just want to remind Council that at the last meeting, we did identify that it would probably be a full year design no matter what option we do before we can get to construction. So we couldn't come forward with an actual constructible intersection in the 2023 year, whether it be the roundabout or signals. I want to appreciate that Council is the way that this has been brought forward through successive tabled motions at budget. Administration has never been directed to actually go out and do a full study at this intersection. There's impacts to both of these options that would warrant going out and doing some public consultation, presenting those options and fully sussing out the impacts to the neighboring properties, as well as the stakeholders in this community. We'll remember that this intersection sits on the oversized load corridor. I can't fully express knowingly what those impacts would be to putting signals or a roundabout in that intersection, both during construction and the end product of that project. So I guess there's another option that's presented, and that would be to allow administration to go out to do an environmental assessment and preliminary design study, come back to Council so you have the information in front of you to make an appropriate and full decision on this intersection.
Councillor Hand, please.
So with your suggestion, Mr. Cole, would there be need to put money into the budget to do the study? And then from the study, then move forward with the decision? So have you got a ballpark amount or that we could, okay, you ready? Thank you.
Mr. Cole, please.
Thank you, Councillor Hand, and through you, Warden Marriott. We would need to assign that. We have never been given the opportunity to put that in to the budget, and I think for the purposes of a full review, $100,000 would give us a full preliminary design to be able to bring back a complete concept to Council.
Questions or comments? Councillor Agar and then Councillor Bradley.
Well, this has been going on for my looks here 3 years. If we did something like that, can you give a timeline that it would be 2024? Because in my mind, I can't see going another year after year after year. It's time to make it right. Thank you.
Mr. Cole, please.
Thank you, Warden Marriott and Councillor Agar. I think that's the difficulty here is without knowing the full scope of the work that's needed out there. We've asked for a drain modification as part of the oversized load corridor to be completed out there, and it's been put off for 3 years. There's other aspects to doing both of those projects that we would be able to establish a full and complete timeline with more accuracy than what we've been given the opportunity to do here today. So I can't tell you that it would be done in 2024 if we did a preliminary study this year. It could be still a 2-year project when we're done the preliminary design study to get the final design done and to get construction completed.
Councillor Bradley.
A question to Mr. Cole. Shouldn't we be bringing some consistency to all these applications? This has happened a number of times about roundabouts versus lights. And it seems to me we're very ad hoc on how we're approaching it. So I think one of the things we need to do is develop a policy that how we will deal with each of these requests. Because right now it's being driven by an immediate situation. And I don't sense that there is, this has happened too many times where councils, who, with all respect, including myself, are not equipped to make these transportation engineering decisions.
Mr. Cole, please.
So we did develop an intersection design policy that we had brought back to council. If you'd like to review that, we can review that again and try to develop something more substantial. But essentially right now, we are looking at roundabouts as options where those intersection needs are warranted. It is clear from the discussion that we're hearing on council today and have heard recently that the thresholds, the safety thresholds that have been commonly established are not those that council is prepared to accept when we do have serious collisions at those intersections. I'm not sure if we can develop a policy that would meet every case, but we can certainly review that again in the future.
Councillor Case, you had your hand up.
Yes, Mr. Warden, through you to maybe Jason. My question is timeline to do the study, first off. How much time? I know you can't tell us for sure 100% today, but what we'd be looking at to do the study. First off, I will also say I'm supportive in doing something there. It's a terrible corner, so I'm supportive of Mayor Agar and trying to do something there. But I wonder about the timeline to be able to get the study done, to do the homework. And again, I also am very, I guess, concerned about making sure we have a really good communications plan moving forward. I know what happened in my municipality last year with the roundabout and putting it in. There's an awful lot of businesses and so on that were kind of left out in the cold. And almost, I would say, they missed the whole season, of the tourism season, of trying to attract some of those people because there really wasn't a plan in place. And I'm not blaming administration for that, because I think the recommendation was to do it the next year and develop that plan. So that would be my other thing. How long the study would take, and does that give us enough time if we do it this year to do a good communications plan? It is an overload hauling area as well. So those are my two questions, Mr. Warden.
Okay, Mr. Cole, please.
Thank you, Councillor Case. In fact, a public consultation component would be inherent with this type of study. We would want to make sure we capture all of the stakeholders that would be impacted. And in this case, there's some very big, very large impacts to that intersection. For example, if we went ahead with a roundabout, we would be closing that intersection for several months in the summer, and that would not be able to be used by some of the major industry that's in that area they'd have to find alternate routes for big equipment. So we'd want to make sure that we get everybody involved who wants to be involved and has that sort of voice. Given that we're just talking about this here today, we'd have to bring a consultant on board. We'd have to go through the process and bring it back to council. I would estimate a timeline in the fall to be able to have that come back and have a full study done and have that presented here.
Any other Councillor Case follow-up?
Yeah, just to follow up, I could, Mr. Warden. So even if we made that decision today, that process still needs to take place, and that time is still going to be needed to be able to move forward with the project. Am I correct?
Mr. Cole, please.
Yeah, yes, that would be accurate.
Any other questions or comments? We do have Councillor Agar, please.
Just one more time, like, that's fine to do the studies, but there's no timeline to it. Like, it might be another 4 years. That's what I'm getting at. Like, it's already had a 3-year process. And I realize yeah, okay, that's my question.
Mr. Cole, please.
I appreciate, Councillor Agar, that this has been on the books for a long time. I hope you'll also appreciate that it's been in a refer to budget that entire amount of time. Staff administration has not been given any direction during that time. In fact, when this was brought forward, we were given direction to not not review any other alternatives other than a roundabout at that intersection. So I respect that it's been floating around for a long time in that discussion, but we're really here today to looking for that acceptance to move on a move forward basis and make that decision properly.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Bucci.
I just have one comment. It seems every time we go to the staff for something, there's always a slow process. There must be a way we can speed up the process. I mean, they've been waiting for a long time. We have been waiting for a long time. We should be able to speed the process. That's all the comment I have.
Just to clarify, Mr. Cole, you did say that if there was a study done, it could come back by this fall, you think, possibly?
That's correct.
That kind of helps with the timeline. So we have Councillor Case.
Just some clarification, just can we go back? I'd like to know what Mayor Agar's motion was. Was it just to lift? Or was there a motion to move forward?
No, there is a motion to move forward.
That was my understanding. Thank you.
Do we want to hear that motion and either vote it up or down?
I'd like to request that we have that motion read. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Leger, please.
So we have a motion on the floor moved by Councillor Agar, seconded by Councillor Bucci, that staff incorporate a signalized intersection at Petrolia Line and Kimball Road in the 2023 budget.
Thank you. Does that help? Are you ready to, Councillor Bradley?
I suggest the mover and seconder that they added it be expedited to in the best manner possible.
We could do that, although are we sure that the motion is what, I don't know if that particular motion works with Mr. Cole's suggestion. Because
Thank you. I would suggest that if we were given direction to proceed by council, we would do our utmost to expedite anyway. We would not be dragging our feet to act on this motion.
That is fine, then I'll leave that alone as an amendment. I'll put the trust there with you.
yeah, that's what I thought, that this motion has us constructing this year. Sorry, Councillor Case and then Councillor Agar.
Yeah, I guess, again, I'm supportive of the project one way or the other. It is a dangerous corner, but at the same time, in listening to Mr. Cole, we're going to be into a public consultation process, going through the engineering, all that. We're going to probably be, as he said, fall, and that's just his best guess estimate. We're not going to go into construction after that. It's not likely going to happen, let's be honest. So I'm wondering if, again, there's a motion on the floor, but I'm wondering if maybe we put that $100,000, I know it's a rough number, into this budget to get the study done, with hoping that the construction can take place next year. I'm just trying to be realistic and our ability to get it done. And my other concern is that we all know the Warwick roundabout was significantly over budget by, I think, $700,000 or $800,000 because it was rushed through. So that's just a suggestion to the mover and seconder. Again, the reality of it is we're not likely going to get this project done this year with the public consultation and the engineering and everything has to be done. So again, if we added the $100,000 in there or $110,000, whatever you thought was appropriate, then we could get the project moving, and the hope would be to get it completed next year. Just a point I want to make. That's all it is, Mr. Warden.
Thank you, Councillor Case. It is complicated. Councillor Agar, did you want to say something again?
I just want to see it move forward one way or the other, and Jason's given a fall. It should be a proposal, and I'm good with that. And like you say, it's not going to be done that 2023 anyway, so 2024 would be a good point for me. And as far as a light versus a roundabout, that's something too will be countered, because with your wide corridor, I don't know myself how you see a roundabout doing it, but you guys are the smarts on that one, so I'm good.
That's why I wonder if the motion is the proper intent, because if the study is going to look at both lights and roundabout, I'm not sure that this motion is what is intended. Councillor Loosely and then Councillor Sageman.
No, thank you, Ward Merit. I can't support the motion on the floor. I can certainly understand spending maybe the 100,000, but we need to keep that separate. But the motion on the floor, I can't support.
Councillor Sageman.
Through you to Mr. Cole. Just wondering if there's not another thing we could do here in the interest of expediency and doing it the right way. I've noticed that this intersection is a two-way stop currently. Is there a way that we can make it a four-way stop quickly and then proceed with the study and do it the right way? And maybe, I know that there's a rural intersection in Huron County at Russellville, same situation, many deaths, and that's what they did, is they put up four-way stop, rumble strips, and then move forward with their study. I'm just curious if that's a good option or not.
Okay. Mr. Cole, please.
Thank you, Councillor Sageman. So the one thing we did when we brought this back as the refer to budget, we did look at putting in a four-way stop. There are, a four-way stop would be not a consistent approach on a county road network, on a high-speed county road network. I would not recommend that as moving forward because of the inconsistency it would provide in the application and it not meeting the warrants at that spot. I don't think that would be an appropriate solution here. We could look at some other interim measures more quickly.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Hand, please.
I was thinking with this approach that to get the study done, and I am supportive of doing something, and I think getting the study done puts it on the books and puts it moving forward, but it would still come back to council after the study in case there's any inherent problems or issues before we're making the final decision. Is that not the process? So there'd be another motion down the road?
Mr. Cole, please.
Thank you, Councillor Hand. Yes, absolutely. We would want you to be fully abreast. If there were significant property impacts to either one of those decisions, we would want you to be aware before we went out and started acquiring, especially at that location, which has a business on one corner, a couple residents on the other two corners. You need to be made abreast of that information before we proceed. I don't want to do that without your blessing.
Okay, are we ready to vote on this motion? Councillor Bean.
I'm sorry, could we just read it one more time, just so we're sure of what we're...
Sure. Ms. J, please.
That goes from here?
Yep.
Right to here.
So the motion on the floor, again, moved by Councillor Agar, seconded by Councillor Bushi, that staff be instructed to engineer and install traffic light signals controlling traffic in all directions at the intersection of Petrolia Line and Kimball Road, and that such work be completed in 2023.
I'm going to ask the mover and the seconder if they want to proceed, or do you want to withdraw it and make a different wording? Councillor Agar, please.
I would love to proceed, but listening, I'll draw it back to do the final check of it as long as there's a endpoint. But I'm good to withdraw and make a new one.
Well, I just want to make sure the intent of the motion is what we want. So it's, you know, so. Is it okay with the seconder? Yeah, is it okay with the seconder? Yeah, okay. So do you want to, it's withdrawn. Do you want to make a new one, Councillor Agar?
A study, to have a study right now to be finished by 2023. The installation of a roundabout or a traffic light at that corner to be done in 2024. If you have to fine tune it to something else.
And the 100K in this year's budget?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. That would be it.
Yeah, we'll have Ms. Leger repeat what we assume is in the motion, please.
Thanks, Warden Marriott. So the motion on the floor now, excuse me, is for County Council to direct staff to complete an environmental assessment and preliminary design study with an addition of $100,000 in the budget for such study, and come back to council for consideration within the 2023 year, looking for construction in 2024.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Broad. Any further discussion? Councillor Ferguson.
Will council still give approval for construction? Because right now, the way it sets it, we put this through, something is being built 100% in 2024.
Councillor Agar.
According to the study, all goes on the study that comes back.
Oh, okay. We're going. Mr. Tifo, do you want to suggest the wording for that, please?
Yes, just for clarification purposes, if the mover, Councillor Agar, and the seconder, Councillor Broad, are okay with this, we could amend it so that staff be instructed to undergo a intersection study at the intersection of Petrolia Line and Kimball Road in 2023, and that the results thereof be reported back to County Council in 2023, and that $100,000 be added to the 2023 budget for the study. As a result of that, the consequence will be whatever that study tells you, you'll then assess in 2023, and then any construction arising thereof, if any, will then be considered at that point in time.
Okay with that? Okay. Any discussion on that motion? Ready to call the vote? All in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous, I believe. So that brings us to item C. C of B, review of department budgets. And we're going to start with tab 4 and move through. And we have our automatic calculator running again this year for any changes that as we go. So if we're ready, we'll start with tab 4. Tab 5. Councillor Loosely.
Sorry, Warden Mary, can we go back to tab 4 under contractual payments? I think it's page 8. I have a prepared motion, and it's I'd like to read that, and I'd certainly put it on the floor if I can get a seconder to discuss it. And basically what it is, it's in regards to the $105,000 given to the Strathroy Middlesex General Hospital. And I'm suggesting, since we didn't give anything to Blue Water Health last year, and I know we don't have to, and we're not giving anything this year, I would like to recommend that council approve $105,000 to Blue Water Health, the same as being allotted to Strathroy Hospital, and that the county policy be so amended. And I'll ask for a seconder if I can get one. I'll speak to that.
Councillor Dennis, seconds. Discussion? Councillor Loosely.
Yeah, I know this has come up in the past. I understand the different responsibilities, but I do think healthcare, at least the health of our county residents, is very, very important. I am concerned with supporting a hospital outside of the county. And whether we pick London, Windsor, whatever, I know we've got a contractual obligation, and I'll honor that, but I think we should at least contribute the same thing to our local hospital. Thank you.
Councillor Case.
Just a little clarification for Mayor Loosely. I don't consider the Strathroy Hospital out of our area. 90% of my residents use that hospital. Many from Lambton Shores use that hospital. And it's a hospital that really offers a full service of services, knee replacements, so on. So just for clarification, 90% of my residents use that hospital, so I do not agree with the comment made, a hospital outside of our area. It's a hospital that serves our area very well, and that's my comment. Thank you.
Councillor Ferguson.
I do agree with Mayor Case there. This is the problem with going out to individual hospitals and organizations. We're looking at a hard political boundary. We should be looking at business boundaries. The province should be funding these hospitals or through the foundation themselves. This is year 6. It was put in there 5 years ago. This is the 6th year. And this is going to keep coming up, and we keep doing individual organizations, but we travel to other places. I'd be against doing that. I'd like to see this ran out and settle down and let the province look after these things. Thank you.
Okay, we have Councillor Loosely and then Councillor Dennis.
Yeah, I think, and I do have the numbers that I will circulate, because I think you'll be surprised at the number of people from there that do use our emergency department. But I guess my concern is picking any hospital outside of Lambton County, any of them, one over another, which is better, Strathroy, London. We all go outside the area. But I'm just saying it just opens up a floodgate when you start to do that. Thank you.
Councillor Dennis.
All anyone has to do is go into Strathroy and see how they're booming. Go into London and see how they're booming. Sarnia-Lambton dollars should stay in Sarnia-Lambton, period. Thank you.
Councillor Case.
Yeah, so I'm going to disagree with the comment made by Councillor Dennis based on reasons I said before. It's a hospital that does serve our area very, very well. My issue with this whole situation is that they didn't ask for the money. We've been supportive of Blue Water many times, joined with them, many projects over the years, but to my knowledge, there wasn't a request for funding. This is something that's being added because, Mayor Loosely, basically you feel that it's the right thing to do to be fair. So it hasn't been requested. I know Blue Water's never been shy about coming back and asking us for funding for different projects. And I fully respect and can support a lot of those projects, but based on the fact they didn't even ask us for this money, I guess I'm a little bit in the dark on why we would add it now. So that's my question, please.
Councillor Hand.
I need to declare a conflict of interest. I'm a board member of Blue Water Health.
Okay.
So do I need to leave?
No.
No, okay.
Councillor Loosely.
Thank you, Ward Mayor. I do want to mention that they did ask us for some money a couple of years ago, but as you know, we have frozen any requests coming to this county at budget time. But they did request, I think, somewhere around $10 million a couple of years ago, and it's been frozen ever since. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, Ms. Leger, please.
Thank you, Warden Marriott. The motion on the floor moved by Councillor Loosely, seconded by Councillor Dennis, that $105,000 be given to Blue Water Health to match the monies given to Strathroy Middlesex General Hospital Foundation, and the county policy be amended as such.
We ready to vote? Councillor Broad.
Could we have recorded vote, please?
Okay. Recorded vote requested. Please, oh yeah, right there. That's.
So we will, Councillor Bradley. We will start with Councillor Bradley. I have a yes. Councillor Broad? No. I have a no. Councillor Case? No. I have a no. Councillor Cook? No. I have a no. Councillor Dennis? Yes. I have a yes. Councillor Ferguson? No. I have a no. Councillor Hand? Apologies. Councillor Loosely? Favor. Councillor McRoberts? Counselor Miller? No. I have a no. Counselor Sageman? No. I have a no. Counselor Veen? No. I have a no. Deputy Warden White? No. I have a no. And Warden Marriott? Oh, my apologies. Counselor Agar? No. Counselor Atkinson? Yes. I have a yes. Counselor Bushi? Yes. I have a yes. Warden Marion? I have a no. The motion is defeated.
So is there anything else for tab 4 before we move to tab 5? Okay, tab 5. Tab 6. Tab 7. Councillor Bradley.
I've raised this issue many times, that where is that stranded debt on the outstanding fines that we never received from the province?
Mr. Pilar.
And if you don't have the answer today, you could just maybe let us know later. And it's in the millions, is it not?
Mr. Pilarkio, please.
Through the warden, yes, well, I definitely can get back to you on that, but it is a sizable amount from my recollection.
Well, when you come back to us, I think we should be following up on this. That was part of this whole downloading and shifting costs, and they left us with a lot of money that is not coming our way because we don't have the ability to pursue it. And there was an initiative to do something about that.
Mr. Pilarkio, please.
We are definitely looking at, a variety of collection methods of recouping funding from the courts, the outstanding fines, but that's an issue that we continue to look at, and I'd be happy to report back in September.
Any other questions on tab 7? Tab 8. Tab 9. Oh, sorry. Councillor Ferguson, you have a question.
Just to be clear, we have put in the $100,000 in here. That'd be one change, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Tab 9. Tab 10. Tab 11. Tab 12 is cultural services. Councillor Bradley, please.
I have a question related to the Sarnia, the Norma Alex and the Judith Alex Art Gallery, and Mr. Mayor is more than aware of this. There's been concern expressed by a number of citizens about the operational hours and the days that it's closed versus other county institutions. Is there any change going on there, any solution?
Mr. Meyer, please.
Through you, Warden, thank you for the question, Councillor Bradley. I believe you're referring to Sunday hours of operations. We have received some concerns from residents and volunteers of the gallery as well, just regarding the Sunday hours of operation and I guess a misunderstanding that we will be closed permanently on Sundays at the gallery. In fact, we've taken a seasonal approach to operations, so much like our museum sites, which are open seasonally from Victoria Day to Labor Day on Sundays. We've matched that at the gallery to take advantage of the tourism season when we typically see a lot of activity on Sundays, and just to be more efficient in terms of our operations. This also, coming out of the pandemic, we often see that on the weekends is where we prioritize our programming, when people are available with families to attend programming, and programming really drives visitation. We did have some challenges attracting instructors for some of our programs at the gallery, and we decided to lump our resources together and ensure that that programming was offered on Saturdays. So previously we had Family Sundays programming. It's now offered as on Saturdays as we reactivate programming post-pandemic. But just want to assure the public and respond to that question that we will be open Sundays, as with the museums, from Victoria Day to Labor Day for the tourism season, and then we close seasonally on Sundays for the winter season. So hopefully that clarifies.
Clarification, but to me, especially when you're dealing with an intense population area, it seems to me it should be a year-round operation versus what you're talking about, which are seasonal operations. And I would hope that we could take a good look at changing that and finding out what the cost would be. Because you're not open on another date either, right? You're not open on Mondays.
Mr. Meyer, please.
Yeah, that's correct. So we are closed some days of the week, again, to prioritize hours when the public can visit. So open on Thursday evenings, open on Saturdays. We can certainly come back to council. A decision was made to close on the Sundays during the pandemic, and we haven't since changed that. So we can certainly come back to council and communicate those cost implications and seek your direction if that's council's wish.
You could do that for 2024, that would be appreciated. And I'll put a motion forward just for a report back on, as we come out of the pandemic, that we should have a plan that starts to rebuild the capacity and the audience. If you need, Mr. Warden.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Deputy Warden White, seconds for discussion. Deputy Warden White.
Thank you. Yes, just on that point, if we could, ensure that we're able to identify the shift in the participation levels specifically on the Saturday, if that's where we're trying to compensate for closing Sundays. If we can see that participation levels have increased or changed in any way, that would be beneficial. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Ready to vote? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Anything else for tab 12? Moving on to tab 13, non-tangible capital assets. Tab 14 is reserves. Councillor Bradley.
I have a question on the, I think we've called it here the Widows and Opportunities Fund. The Contingency and Opportunities Fund, which is now hitting $10 million. And for those that aren't familiar with it, it's sort of a general fund, and it has been useful to draw on special projects and other things. How far are we going to let that grow? Because that's tax money that's being collected and is sitting there.
Mr. Pelarkio, please.
Sure. Thank you for the question. Let me take a bit of a macro perspective on the reserves and reserve funds in general. Our reserves and reserve funds are approximately $66 million by the end of 2023. $10 million of that 66 is the Economic Opportunity and Contingency Reserve. When you take a look at the assets across the corporation, your road network is probably your most expensive asset, and with a net replacement value of $700 million plus. When you take a look at basically your long-term care centers, you're well over $100 million. Cultural facilities, be your galleries and so forth. It's very easy to quantify that your net replacement value is over $1 billion. I've reported back that the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Health have indicated that your reserve fund levels in comparison to municipal indicators are low. Your S&P credit rating basically also indicated that your reserve fund levels are low, but the councillor is correct in stating that there is this amount. Until we conduct a real comprehensive and updated asset management plan, where you may have to be rejuggling some of the balances within specific reserves, then we can quantify what where the funding should go. For example, I can tell you right now, the funding that's in our long-term care reserves and reserve funds and our affordable housing reserves and reserve funds are nowhere near where they need to be. So you need to take a bit of more of a macro perspective when you take a look at the reserves and reserve funds. But yes, the councillor is correct. It's $10 million, but we have utilized that in the past to fund some key projects that fall within the regulatory programs of the county.
So you are going to bring something back on the overall macro direction, because you're right. If I recall, there's been reports saying in certain areas our reserves are extremely low for future needs.
100%. Of the Ontario regulations and our asset management plan, we have to come back with a 10-year asset management plan on your road network, as well as your non-core assets such as long-term care and your social services areas. So that needs to be conducted within the next couple of years. 2023 is where the road network asset management plan requires an update. And we're prepared to prepare those reports. But I didn't want to come here today saying we have a huge infrastructure deficit until we have those studies done.
Anything else for tab 14? Councillor Ferguson.
I would just like to bounce back and forth among 2 or 3 papers if I could. So the overall increase in the reserves on the paper he gave out at the last meeting was $2 million, but within that, $500,000 is going towards the purchase of the Bayside Center long term. So the increase in reserves is for some dedicated projects. Moving into the fund, which is highlighted now by Mayor Bradley, that really had to help rural Lambton. We could access that money for SWIFT. That was really needed, and really got things going within Lambton. A wonderful project with that. It's critical to have it there. And also in the reserve fund, I think on R3, on the stabilization, it is showing that reserve was pulled down to keep the tax increase about 2.5 points lower than what it could have been. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments for 14? Seeing none, we move to tab 15. Councillor Veen.
Thank you, Warden, members of County Council. I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around all this, and maybe it's because I'm not an accountant, but we're showing our debt load. The debt load is up there, and we're paying $5 million a year in interest, right? Somewhere in there. Am I not reading that right? Debt charges 5,572,000.
I believe that's correct. Did Mr. Pelarchio want to confirm that?
Interest payments, the total debt servicing cost.
I guess what I'm wondering is why, and I know this has been brought up before, I don't know why we don't pay down some of that debt so that we can free up some of this money to use for housing or whatever else we need to use it for. I mean, I just think that having a debt load, to me, having debt is not a good thing. So and unless you could explain it to me different, I would appreciate that.
Okay, we have had this discussion before, but I'll have Mr. Pelarchio attack it again, please.
Sure, thank you for the question. Again, I just want to reemphasize that you talked about our savings account and our reserve funds are low. One of the good things that the county has is, it's a credit to your financial health, is that your debt levels are low in comparison to your municipal peers, in comparison to the way the province ranks you. Now, that being said, when debt interest rates are hovering around 7%, no one wants to basically go out and borrow debt. But there are appropriate uses for debt, such as a significant service improvement, a significant addition. And that's when most municipalities across Ontario will consider debt. We, in fact, brought a debt policy to council in July, where we basically described the best utilization of debt. That being said, we will look at every opportunity to reduce our debt servicing costs. And over the last 9 to 10 years, we in fact reduced debt servicing by approximately $10 million. So those are very, very good things that I would challenge that our administration knows and will continue to do. But when there are key new initiatives where we need to look at some potential additions, we look at that debt as a source of funding on a strategic basis.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Veen? Any other questions or comments for tab 15? Councillor Loosely.
I just want to mention, Ward Myriad, I do have a motion prior to approving this budget. I just wanted to let you know ahead of time. Thank you. And I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay, well, we're at the end of the tab, so we'd be looking for motions to either approve. So go ahead, Councillor Loosely.
Thank you, Ward Myriad. And I have a little bit different perspective on this. And in my time here, 4 years ago, we were somewhere around 39, 40 million on reserves, for example. We now hit somewhere around 74, and you're taking out 6 or 8. I'm not exactly sure. We still have 64 million. I'm thinking we have done very well at increasing the revenues over the last number of years. We may not be where you want, but we're certainly getting there. And I still have to sit here and say, when is enough enough? Our borrowing capacity is somewhere around $89 million. We're nowhere near that. I feel this county is in great financial shape. And I'd like to recommend the following motion: that council reduce the $15.9 million that we're putting into the reserve this year to go into reserve to approximately $15 million, just $15 million. That'll include the $100,000 at the discretion of administration, and that would reduce the 2023 budget to 3%. And if I can get a seconder, I can speak more to that. Thank you.
Councillor Dennis, you seconds it? Go ahead, Councillor Loosely.
Thank you, Ward Myriad. And again, I think somewhere around the $849,462 was 1%. I took the extra 100,000, but I still feel by putting 15.9 million in a reserve, and I know we're taking out that 6 or whatever, but we still are in good financial shape. If we put just 15 million in the reserve, we could reduce the budget to 3%. And I think that would be great if we could do that. Thank you.
Any other comments on the motion? Councillor Loosely?
If there's no comments, I'm also going to request a recorded vote, please.
Councillor Case, please.
Yes, Mr. Warden, through you to council. My only concern with this is that for quite a few years, I've been here, I guess off and on for about 20 years, and my only concern is there was a particular time where we were really behind the 8 ball when it comes to reserves. And along with that concern, that further is where we're going in the next 3 years. I'm very concerned with the economy, the world economy, the rate to borrow money, I mean, being 7-8% now compared to, getting money from Infrastructure Ontario at maybe 2 and 3%. So I'm a little guarded of this motion. Normally, I would agree with Mayor Loosely. It's not a great big difference. We're still in really good shape. But I'm concerned for the future. And I guess my past time here, seeing where we didn't have those dollars in reserve, cost us. And again, with the cost of borrowing, and I don't think there's going to be anything change on the world economic stage in the next 1 to 2 years. Hopefully I'm wrong. I'd love to see things get back to where they're very positive again. But that's where I'm a little guarded. Because we got to go out and start borrowing money at 7 and 8%. That's going to come back and affect our bottom line too. So I feel very comfortable having those reserves in place, knowing that if we have to go back and use them next year or the year after because of the shortfalls, and the provincial government may be cutting us off on some of the funding, that it's there. So that's just my point. I don't have a huge issue with Mayor Loosely's suggestion, other than looking at the future concerns me. And like I say, I have that comfort level knowing that those reserves are there. And again, going into the past, just to recap, where we were low on our reserves, and again, it cost us quite a few dollars back in the day. So again, I know there's only one taxpayer. We're collecting these dollars from the taxpayer, and by collecting them, they like to see them utilized. But that's my concern, Mr. Warden.
Okay, Councillor Bradley.
Yeah, I support the motion, and mainly because this, to me, is the year of affordability for people. With inflation, with interest rates, and all the other turmoil that's out there in the economy, it's slowed down significantly, if not dead stopped. This motion makes sense in this context. And I understand exactly what Councillor Case is. I've been through it too, about that tightrope of reserves. But this year, for every Canadian, it's about affordability. So we can reduce the increase here at 3%, which should help the rest of us at the lower level with our budgets and our increase. I think it's a wise move on our part.
Deputy Warden White.
Thank you. I appreciate all the comments that have been made so far. It's great perspective. My question is to Mr. Prolarchio as to whether or not he can forecast any difficulties that would arise from a motion like this, perhaps not necessarily this year, but as the next couple of years unfold and as pressures start to mount. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Prolarchio, please.
Great question, difficult question. Reserve funds, obviously we take the direction of County Council. I can't emphasize for you that, for 2024, 25, and 26, they're going to be very tough budget cycles as well. We've already taken $2.2 million from our stabilization reserve to contain tax rate growth for 2023, which is equivalent to approximately 2.5%. So, we have some significant projects that are in the horizon for, affordable housing. We've only hit half the ideal investment in affordable housing. I mentioned that $3.9 million would be the ideal annual amount that we were looking at. We put in $2 million this year. And, when you take a look at your long-term care areas and cultural facilities and an updated capital roads network plan, there's some significant costs that are there in horizon. Reserve fund levels are low. They have improved modestly, but it wouldn't be fair for me to basically say that 2024 and 25 may be even tougher because of the potential decisions that could be made here on reserve funds today.
Councillor Hand, please.
Could you confirm where we're at now with adding the 100,000? What would the total be? I think that's the only adjustment.
It should be on the screen.
I think we're at 4, right? Yeah. Basically, through the warden, 849,000 is 1%, 85,000 is 0.1%. So basically, if I did my quick math, we're approximately at a 4% increase with the $100,000 that was added for the study. And I believe the screen up there shows me at where am I? Yeah, we're at 4%.
Does that answer your question, Councillor? And
It does. I was thinking about, could we make an adjustment to cover 100% from the reserves, not going as far as the proposal? Do you know what I'm saying?
the 100,000, that's
So-
for the study.
Yeah. Dial back the reserve slightly and to cover that so that we're under 4% somewhere.
Well, we have a motion on the floor as it stands, so Councillor Loosely.
Yeah, thank you, Ward Marriott, and I did account for that because my first request in the motion was going to be, you're putting in 15.9 million into the reserve. I was going to request 15.1. I just said 15, which would pick up that basically that other 100,000 to keep us at 3%.
So to clarify that, Councillor Loosely, you want the reserves deposits to be reduced by 900,000.
Yeah, or whatever would work out to give or take a few dollars to that 3%, but yes.
Councillor Bushy.
Well, I listened to our treasurer say that in a way he's kind of against it, but he said we're going to need more money next year and the year after and so forth. But I have a different perspective in this. If you go to a grocery store, there are some people going to pay for the groceries and they can't afford to pay for groceries this year. So that would help them a little bit. I mean, it's just as tough as the years coming or the years before.
Would you like to answer to that, Mr. Pilarchio?
100%. Through the ward, and I can agree with more with Councillor Bushy. It is definitely difficult economic times right now, and like I emphasized before, the 2.96% is well below inflation, and we try to recognize that. And when you take a look at the reserves and reserve funds, and you look at the difference between our contributions and our withdrawals, there's a slight, $1.8 million increase, so forth. That increase is primarily because of the additional to affordable housing, the addition to basically for a potential acquisition at Bayside. There's additional contributions that are going in, everything else being equal. If basically we're going to contribute to specific reserve funds and then reduce from others, that really doesn't improve your overall financial health, especially when we have key projects down the road.
Councillor Broad.
Thanks, Ward Marriott. I do appreciate what Councillor Loosely's trying to do here, but I think it's just the wrong time to do it. Staff has been very clear to us, very clear, that it's not going to get any better. We know our reserves are down. They are not in a level that everybody's happy with. And I agree with what staff has recommended here for our reserves. I just don't think this is the time. We've got an over 6% inflation rate out there, and our budget's going to come in at 3.94, whatever it is. That's excellent compared to the others. There's lots of news reports of other surrounding municipalities that's well above us. And I'm sure all of us sitting here with our own council budgets, there's not many of us that are sitting at the 3.9 on that. And I appreciate that. Yeah, it's nice to drop the reserves to help our budgets out, but that's not really how this should work. So I will not be supporting the motion, and I appreciate what staff has done to us today to prepare us for this budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Ward Marriott. I will not be supporting that motion. the affordable housing has to be looked at. It has to be money put aside for that. Looking through the different newspapers and going through different studies, and I've printed off a piece today from the Toronto Star. A hospital stay for homeless people for a month can be worth $10,000, or in the homeless side is a month, $2,000 on the homeless side to be looked after them, an $8,000 difference. We need to get money into and set aside for the homeless and for those issues. It saves money overall for society in the long run. Thank you.
Councillor Dennis?
Any economic professor will tell you the worst time to raise taxes is during a recession. The money is better used in the pockets of the consumer than it is in government. I will gladly support the motion. Thank you.
Are we close to calling the vote? Okay, I see some heads. I'll ask our clerk to request of the recorded vote, please.
Thank you, Warden Marriott. So just to clarify, the motion on the floor, moved by Councillor Loosely, seconded by Councillor Dennis, is that staff be directed to reduce the contributions to reserves by the sum of approximately $900,000 at the discretion of administration for the 2023 budget to be reduced to 3%.
Councillor Loosely.
Yeah, I just wondered if we could just have the budget include that council reduced the 15.9 million to go into the reserve to approximately the 15. I know that's the 900,000 at the discretion. I just wondered if that could be put into the motion. Thank you.
Yes, no problem. So that staff be directed to reduce the contributions to reserve from the 15.9 million to 15 million at the discretion of administration for the 2023 budget to be reduced to 3%.
Call the vote, please. It's recorded vote requested.
Councillor McRoberts? I have a no. Councillor Miller? No. Councillor Sageman? No. I have a no. Councillor Veen? Yes. I have a yes. Deputy Warden White? No. I have a no. Councillor Agar? Yes. I have a yes. Councillor Atkinson? No. I have a no. Councillor Bushi? Yes. I have a yes. Councillor Bradley? Yes. I have a yes. Councillor Broad? No. I have a no. Councillor Case? No. I have a no. Councillor Cook? No. I have a no. Councillor Dennis? Yes. I have a yes. Councillor Ferguson? No. I have a no. Councillor Hand? No. I have a no. Councillor Loosely?
Yes.
I have a yes. Warden Marriott? No. I have a no. That motion is defeated.
Councillor Broad.
I'd like to thank staff for the preparation of the budget this year, and I would be honored to make a motion today to pass the budget as amended.
Okay. Is that seconded by Councillor Ferguson? Any discussion?
This is the Dick Kirkland motion?
Yeah.
In his honor?
All in favor of that motion? Opposed?
I would suggest you record the vote for the record.
Okay, request recorded vote. To the clerk, please.
Councillor Agar? No. I have a no. Councillor Atkinson? Yes. I have a yes. Councillor Bushi? No. I have a no. Councillor Bradley? No. I have a no. Councillor Broad? Yes. I have a yes. Councillor Case? Yes. I have a yes. Councillor Cook? Yes. I have a yes. Councillor Dennis? No. I have a no. Councillor Ferguson? Yes. I have a yes. Councillor Hand? Yes. I have a yes. Counselor Loosely?
No.
I have a no. Counselor McRoberts? Yes. I have a yes. Counselor Miller? Yes. I have a yes. Counselor Sageman? Yes. I have a yes. Counselor Veen? No. I have a no. Deputy Warden White? Yes. I have a yes. Warden Marriott?
Yes.
I have a yes. That motion has passed.
Okay, moving on to item number 9. Are there any notice of motions? Councillor Loosely.
Thank you, Warden Marriott. I almost hate to speak again, but I do have a notice of motion that I'd like council to consider. I'll read it, and as council is aware, we'll deal with it at the next county council meeting. And it is, whereas annually when receiving the proposed County of Lambton budget, the documents provided do not include imperative information from the previous years, as we are not provided actual amounts on the analysis of the tax base combined and total comparison. And whereas as members of County Council making important decisions of financial planning without receiving the actuals from the previous year, it is difficult to understand the financial picture we are deciding on, as we are being asked to approve a proposed next year budget without comparing amounts to the actual expenses of the previous year. Now therefore be it resolved that beginning with the 2024 budget and forward, a line be included to show the actuals of the previous year. And it would be recommended that this information be placed between the previous year budget amounts and the proposed year budget amount and anywhere else deemed necessary. Thank you.
Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Dennis? Discussion? Oh, sorry, it's a notice of motion. I'm sorry. And no seconder either. Okay.
We don't need it. We don't need it.
Just, are there any other notice of motions? If not, oh, sorry, Councillor Bradley.
I don't know if you allow new business. I just have a question to the CAO and to Ms. Colasanti, if you would allow a question.
We're moving into number 10, which is other business, so you're welcome to bring it up there right now.
Okay, thank you. And you're aware of the situation I'm talking about. There was a fire in the city of Sarnia at the Earls Court apartment buildings, and there's a number of people in there that are very vulnerable. And really, for the record, because I've been sending you some of the requests I'm getting from people about what is actually going on to help these people. And there have been issues in that building before with re-evictions and the landlord. And I understand from Mr. Thibault this morning in an email that the county does have a team working on this.
Mr. Tifo, please.
Yes, thank you, Warden Marriott. Councillor Bradley, absolutely. I think the issue came up earlier this week, if not last week, and through Ms. Colasanti, she can provide particulars, but social services and her team have been certainly engaged.
Important right now because there's a number of people that are very concerned about where they are now and where they may end up getting back into that building. And Ms. Colasanti, can you add anything to this?
Ms. Colasanti, please.
Certainly through you, Warden. Social Services does have a team that's working with those individuals. However, I can't speak to when the landlord will allow us back into the building. So that's sort of left with the landlord and the building department at the city, because I understand there are still some issues with fire and getting back into that building. So we are working with the individuals that were displaced and are now finding themselves homeless. We were able to put many of them up in a hotel for a week. However, now we've sort of had to triage them and go through our regular process. So some of those individuals will be staying in our homeless shelter through the Inn of the Good Shepherd or other places like that. We'll continue to work with them, but as you know, it's really challenging right now to find affordable housing. So we can add those individuals to our wait list for housing services, but that may take some time. In the meantime, we do have community support workers working with each of them on a plan.
Is there no way that we could continue to keep them in the hotel, motel, wherever, for a few more weeks till there's more clarity to what's going on with this landlord? And maybe the city and the county are both doing it, But is there no way of doing that, or is that in your discretion, or is that something you need direction from the county for put another 2 weeks in or something like that?
Ms. Calasani, please.
Certainly. I guess at council's direction, we could continue to do that. However, we have quite a large number of individuals who are as part of our homeless system, and we've had several other fires this year already. So if we were to start to put all of the individuals who are displaced by a fire into a hotel, it would be significant cost to the county. We would need to look to levy dollars for that.
I think we could look to this contingency fund that has $10 million in it. And I'm not, again, it's not a criticism. This has happened a couple of times this year, and the county's done a good job dealing with it, and the city staff. It's that we need to be prepared for this, because what we're doing is being very reaction to a very difficult situation with people, many of them very vulnerable, handicapped, all those things.
Okay, Councillor Case, you have a...
Yes, Mr. Warden, through you. Do we have a policy in place now that we utilize, and is that what we go to deal with situations like this currently?
Calasani, please.
Certainly. Thank you for the question. We have policies and procedures around dealing with individuals who come to our department who are experiencing homelessness. So we start to triage them, we go through a diversion process, and then they're diverted to ideally somewhere else besides a homeless shelter, but if not, then that's really what we have to do. We have individuals present every day in our main building who are experiencing homelessness. So we try to treat them all the same and try to deal with them with the best resources that we have available to us.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none. Is there any other business under number 9? Oh, sorry, 10. Looks like we can move on to number 11, notice of bylaws.
Yes, thank you, Warden Marriott. It is moved by Councillor Bushi and seconded by Councillor Atkinson that bylaws number 9 and number 10 of 2023 as circulated and amended as applicable be read for the first and second time.
All in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
It is moved by Councillor Bushi and seconded by Councillor Atkinson that bylaws number 9 and number 10 of 2023 as circulated and amended as applicable be read for the third and final time.
All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. That brings us to adjournment. The next meeting will be April the 5th, 2023. And I look for Councillor Broad moves and Councillor Veen seconds. All in favor? It's carried. Please join us with O Canada.
O Canada.